Someone gave me this. It's a flip phone. So, Syed, you said that you bring people here. Why?
This is the Western Cemetery of the city of Nablus. Okay, we have an Eastern Cemetery and a Western Cemetery. But a lot of internationals who come here in solidarity with Palestine, or even Palestinian internationals who visit the city, I bring them to this cemetery to show them the end result of the brutality of the Israeli occupation. We have Nablus lost 1,200 people only in this last intifada, okay? And this is a huge number compared to the population of the city.
Of course.
And here, my mom was assassinated by the Israeli army on October 11, 2002. And she's buried right down here. And I come here almost every day just to have respect, to pay respect, and to read some Quran for her. And also to visit. I have a lot of friends, either family or friends, who are buried also in this cemetery and also in the Western Cemetery. But this is close to my house, and my mom is here. So we'll go and
Okay.
visit her. Here you can see, you know, in Palestinian martyrs, we don't put tomb, we put garden. So it says, روضة الشهيدة شادن عبد القادر الصالح بحجلة. This is the garden of Shadin. Her name is Shadin. Shadin means young gazelle. Abdul Qadir al-Salih is her father name. Abu Hijla is her married name. She was born on February 15, 1941, and she was murdered on October 11, 2002. And here it says that she was killed by the Israeli occupation bullets on Friday, October 11, 2002, and consistent with Hijri calendar 1423. And here there's a poetry that a friend of mine wrote to her on with some flowers during the funeral, and it says, "Salamun alayki zahrat al-yasamin, salamun alayki al-kadihin, علمتنا أن المرء عطاء لا يستكين, فعهدا لك لن نتراجع أو نلين." It says, "Peace be upon you, jasmine flower. Peace be upon you, the mother of the poor." My mom used to help the poor a lot. "You taught us that a woman is an endless giving. A woman is an endless giving. We promise you we will not retreat or succumb basically to the will of the occupation." And you know, this is, I come here, I tell you, every day I read Al-Fatiha for her. Al-Fatiha is the first verse in the Quran, the first surah in the Quran. And you know, basically it brings about, like, you ask God for mercy, because the most merciful, the most gracious. And here in every Palestinian martyr tomb, most of them, you put this, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Do not think those who were killed in the cause of Allah are dead, but they are alive and they are rewarded by their Lord. And here's a tomb of my mom's cousin. She was killed in an explosion in 1968. Okay, in 1968. This is another cousin of my mother. He was killed in the first intifada in I think 1988 or 89. 88 or 89. Okay. So
Syed, can you tell me something about the circumstances of your mother's death and of the other two killings that you just described? Can you tell me something about the circumstances?
Yeah. Well, my mom was killed by the Israeli army on October 11, 2002. She was sitting in our home, in our home porch. You know, we have a big garden and there's a porch. And my dad was sitting next to her. And I was just about to join them. It was around this time, 5:45. You know, just before sunset. So at that time it was a curfew, and because in October 2002 we were under extended curfew. We were under curfew for 3 months, but it was from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. the curfew. But on that Friday, They switched it. They made it all day. And around that 5:45, the army jeeps came and stopped in front of our house. And my mom told me, wait until the jeeps go. So I waited, there is this glass door, and then my mom was sitting here. And there's steps in front of the house. And so the jeeps stood maybe 30 meters away from us. And then, without any provocation, without anything, they opened fire on us. My mom got hit in the chest. It seems like they shot the first bullet on her head. She died like this. They shot her the second bullet in her chest. 6 bullets came next to my neck, and they pierced the glass door behind which I was standing. And one bullet hit the wall, ricochet, and hit my dad in the head, and cut his head 7 centimeters stitches, but if it hit him, it would have killed him. And my mom, and then they drove away. I was hit in the neck, with the glass shrapnels. I thought the bullets pierced my neck, so I thought I was gonna die. And I start screaming my dad. My dad is an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. So I start screaming, and then he came and opened the door. He came, and then he looked. And I looked. We have a mirror inside this balcony. Then I saw my mom fell from the chair on the steps. So I wanted to go and help her. Her eyes were open, and it was like last breath. Because they used explosive bullets, high caliber explosive bullets. From the X-ray, I'll show you the X-ray. 17 shrapnels. She had no chance. If it was maybe a regular bullet, maybe she had a chance. Exploded and then damaged her lung, damaged her. Massive bleeding, internal bleeding. She died on the spot.
And what was there a reason that your family was targeted during the Second Intifada?
I mean, my mom was very, very active, in the, peaceful resistance.
Yes.
She was responsible for what we call the popular committees in our area.
Yes.
She used to help people with food, distributing, rations, food rations, some money for needy people, things like this. It was very peaceful activity.
Yes.
But it seems even the peaceful activity, the Israelis consider a threat to the security.
So you think there was some intention in that? It wasn't strictly random that they came to you?
All logical conclusion, because our neighbor, he has a shop, he had opened half of the door, he was standing in front of his shop. They told him to go in and close the door. Why didn't they shoot him? Okay, what kind of threat did we pose at them? We are 30 meters away. There are fortified cars, jeeps.
Yes.
And my mom was doing embroidery. We're a civilian family.
Yes.
What did we cause? Usually, sometimes when people are sitting in their gardens, they say it's curfew, go inside. But it's in our home.
Yes. Yes.
So there's no reason you shoot. Okay.
Yes.
What kind of fire is this? You shoot at her head. I'll show you. If you look at the web, we have a website for her. www.remembershaden.org. Her name is Shaden, SHADEN.org. And you will see the bullets. You'll see how far the first bullet they shot at her head. What kind of a soldier with military honor?
Yes.
Shoot at a defenseless civilian woman doing embroidery at the head.
Yeah.
And then she goes there, and the second one shot her in the chest. Without no threat, direct physical threat to them.
Yes.
We have a nice villa,
Yes.
It was curfew.
Yes.
It was calm. There was no demonstrations. There was nothing. So what's the justification?
Yes.
Just the justification. If you add it up, either it was an intentional, cold-blooded murder of one soldier.
Yes.
But because there are 2 jeeps, they have a commander. So the commander has to give the soldier at least an order to shoot.
Yes.
So they are all, at least at the minimum, they're all complicit in this murder.
Yes.
Unless came from high up that this woman should be silenced because she's very active in helping the.
But you don't have any names and accountability and report on that incident from the Israeli side.
No, we have.
Oh, you do.
Oh no, we have a court. We have been going. We went to a court. From beginning of 2003 up until now.
I see.
It took us 8 years to go to court. The first session was in 2009. It took us 8 years to go to the Israeli court for the whole. We had we hired a Palestinian lawyer
yes,
from inside the
yes,
1948, and he had a complaint.
Yes.
And then they closed the file, the criminal record, the criminal case. They closed it with an internal investigation,
Yes.
and they said that they have did reprimanding. What's the reprimand two soldiers, one commander and one soldier, but we don't know what it was. So they hit them and the file was closed.
Yes. Yes.
And they did not give the result of the investigation for our lawyer for a long time.
Yes.
And then we went with a civilian case against them, but it took us a while because if you remember, from 2002 after 2003 until 2005, I think, or 2006, the Israelis made it illegal for any Palestinian family to sue the Israeli army for any killings that happened during that period, because they said it's a warlike conditions. Then our lawyer and other lawyers
Yes.
went to the Israeli High Court,
Yes.
and they reversed it. So we were able to go
Yes.
to court, I think, in 2007,
Yes.
and the first time we testified in 2009.
Yes. And so the case is still ongoing?
Yeah, I testified. They delayed my testimony for 2 years.
Oh, wow. So,
Because they don't give me a permit to go inside 1948 areas inside Israel.
yes.
Because now, after they kill my mom, I am considered a security threat.
I'm just, it's so beautiful,
It's just, no, all this is explained on the website.
Okay,
You know.
so Syed, I don't like, this is going to go right on my website.
Yeah.
So people, sometimes it's 11 minutes, so I don't want to go on too long on this little episode. So I want to ask you one question. I want you to step back from the circumstances and facts and military logic of the murder of your mother. And I want you to explain why that happened politically / historically. So why did that happen? What is that a reflection of?
Well, look, I mean, we have been living under occupation for the past 44 years. This is a brutal occupation, and this is, now on top of this occupation, we have an apartheid system. So this is, look, the Palestinian population here, either they are submissive, they become submissive to the occupation, or they reject the occupation. All these actions, all these human rights violations are designed basically to silence the Palestinian civilian population and make them benign population, submissive to the will of the Israeli occupation. We lost 1,200 people in Nablus alone in this intifada. Okay?
Yes.
These and there is no accountability. All these murders, all this happened,
Is there any part of you that responds to the killing of your mother by any part of you, even a small part, a little part that says, Syed, shut up, have your life, try to have your profession, pursue your career, have your family, accept these conditions, and because history is filled with oppression, you are experiencing historical oppression, but I don't have to become political, I can pursue my life. Is any part of you have that response to the
I
killing
started
of
my political activism when I was 10 years old. I joined the demonstrations against occupation in 1976. Okay, I threw stones when I was 10 years old against occupation because I saw the brutality of the occupation when I was a baby, still a child. Okay, and and
no one had to instruct you.
I was shot when I was 15 years old by the Israeli army. I almost died myself. Look at my body. This is I'm telling you, I went through the whole spectrum of Israeli oppression. Okay? It just happened. Many people like me went through the whole spectrum. I went to jail 5 times when I was 15, 16, 17. I was tortured on my wounds when I was 15 by Israeli soldiers in a camp called Al-Far'a prison. It's an infamous prison. Now the Palestinian Authority made it into a youth center. I can take you there. I show you the thousands and thousands of people who were tortured. Their names still etched on the walls. I was whipped when I was 16 years old. I was whipped by Israeli soldiers in this camp, by the only democracy in the Middle East. I was whipped. Do you understand why I was whipped? When I was 15, this guy stepped on my stomach, on my fresh wounds. I was only shot after 2 months. I almost died. It opened one stitch in my stomach, in my abdomen. What are you telling me? And on top of that, after many years, I went to the United States and I studied. I came back. I'm a professor in the university. You know, my mom was killed in cold blood and she died in my hands. Of course, and you know what? I'm struggling. I'm teaching. I just taught 2 classes. I'm a professor of political geography at one of the biggest universities in Palestine. Okay? I'm living my life at the same time. I'm struggling against occupation. This crime, this endless crime has to end. This has to end. Okay? And I start writing poetry when I was young as therapy. Read my poems on my blogs and websites. You know? I wrote a poem called Palestinian Superman, but it should be Palestinian Superman and Palestinian Superwoman. It says you must be Superman to be a real man in Palestine. You must use all your senses 24 hours a day in order to stay. You must hear the gunfire, then the screams that fade away. You must smell tear gas and cry as if there are not enough tears in this holy land. You must see blood again and again and still see red. You must hold the barbed wires in your hand and smile for the elderly Palestinian woman trying to bypass the Israeli checkpoint. You must taste humiliation and eat Palestinian sweets, Nablus sweets, all in the same day. And yet, and still, think of the olives and the thyme and think of ways to end this endless crime. Oh, my beloved, do we still have time to hold hands and kiss and raise our children in a cosmic bliss? We want to live in peace, but peace with justice. Peace for all, for Muslims, Christians, and Jews. I wrote a poem called, you know, A State of Love. A state of love. One state, 2 state, or no state. Zionism, what a fate. They caught the bait and continue the hate. Can we keep this rate of ethnic cleansing? Can they keep this rate of ethnic cleansing? I said, I forgot, but it's on.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for answering my questions.
It's crazy. But believe me, at the end of this poem, I say, one state, no hate, a state of love, blessed from above. The children dance, happy in a trance. This is our last chance. State of love for everybody. I believe in a one-state solution for everybody, but with the return of the refugees, with justice, like we did in South Africa, a country for all of its citizens. Okay? I struggled with the South Africans in 1985. From 1985 until 1994, until Nelson Mandela came out of prison. I'm a Palestinian oppressed, struggled with the South Africans. I struggled with the Nicaraguans, with the Salvadorians, with every oppressed people. When you're oppressed, you have to feel with other oppressed people.
So where are we on that? The years of apartheid lasted, I don't know, 50 or 40 years?
From 48, they instituted an apartheid system in South Africa. Nelson Mandela came out in 1990 from prison. In 1994, he became the first black president of South Africa.
Right. So you're
talking. Took them from 48 to 94.
Okay, that's a 46-year period. Obviously, historical models are just aren't rigid. They're not. You know, you don't. It's a fallacy to think that history repeats itself. It doesn't repeat itself.
No.
But is there any in that? Where are we in that 46-year path? Or where are we here in that curve? Where are we in that curve?
Look, Israel, the Zionist state, has ethnically cleansed Palestinians in 1948. In 1948, Israel was able to ethnically cleanse 75% of the Palestinian population. Now the 75%, it was close to 800,000 Palestinians. Now there are 7 million Palestinian refugees living in Jordan, in Syria, in Lebanon, around the world, you know. And now we have 4 million Palestinians living in the West Bank and Gaza. Now the Jews inside Israel are close to 6.5 million. You know, with the Palestinians there is 1.5 million. Now there are 8 million. Now, soon, our numbers the Palestinians inside Israel and Palestinian West Bank and Gaza will be equal in number with the Jewish population.
Yeah.
For Israel to remain a Jewish state, a pure Jewish state, they have to be the majority. This is not feasible. The only way they can stay and remain the majority is by two ways. Either they commit genocide, kill the Palestinians because we are increasing in number more than them.
Yes.
Okay, or they continue in their campaign of ethnic cleansing. Continue this campaign. They're doing it in Jerusalem. They're doing it in the West Bank with the wall and the settlements and so on, with the settler violence. And of course, they're besieging Gaza and they're choking Gaza. It's a dead end. It's impossible. Zionism is, what do you call it? A losing project. Zionism is a losing project. Zionism has actually, I believe, is the biggest enemy of the Jews, because what the Zionists are doing, what Israel is doing, is fueling anti-Jewish feelings not only in Palestine, in the region, in the Muslim Islamic world. Jews used to live in Baghdad, in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Cairo. In Cairo, you go and see the big synagogue in the middle of Cairo. Where are the Jews now?
Yeah.
Where are they? In Tunisia, in Morocco, Jews had coexisted peacefully in the Middle East. Okay? Zionism came and destroyed the fabric of Jewish presence inside the Arab world. They extracted them from their patrimony and they brought them to Palestine on an ethnically cleansed land. They destroyed the Palestinian society. 531 Palestinian villages were destroyed. Can you imagine, even in the United States, destroying 531 Palestinian American towns or villages? Of course, there was a genocide on a different scale,
Yeah.
with the Native Americans.
Yeah.
But where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? We have, to build a society, a secular democratic society, which was the initial vision of the PLO. Yasser Arafat in 74, what did he speak in the United Nations? I have an olive branch. What was the olive branch of Arafat? A secular democratic state for Muslims, Christians and Jews, right? The rifle was, if you don't let the olive branch,
Yeah.
This is what we need to work on. If this project is crazy, and Israel is a garrison state, and they built an iron wall, as Jabotinsky said, from 1923. We have nothing to do with the Holocaust. Israel was not built because of the Holocaust. The Holocaust speeded up the creation of the state of Israel. Arabs and Muslims, we didn't do the Holocaust. Europe did the Holocaust, right? Did we do the Holocaust? And they want us to pay the price of the Holocaust? Is this how you solve problems, big problems? No. There was a chance for a secular democratic state, under a British mandate. But the British and the Zionist movement, they continued this stupid project, a bloody stupid project. The end of it is the agony from 1947 now, until now. You have Palestinians in refugee camps, and they want us to 63 years of agony, of massacres against innocent Palestinians. Why? And they would tell us as if it didn't happen. The Nakba didn't happen. They didn't even want to say sorry for the historical injustice they did to Palestinians. What did we do? And now they tell us we are enemies for thousands of years? Excuse me, bull. Palestinians, there were Palestinian Jews living in Palestinian cities, in Safad, in Hebron, in Jerusalem, in Nablus. Jews were living in Palestine in peace. Now we have Samaritan communities. Here, the Samaritan community, they are an ancient Israelite sect from the people of Israel. They're not Jews, they're Samaritans. Yeah. Okay? Why are they living in peace? They've been here for 3,000 years, since the Jews came back from captivity. I live in a Christian neighborhood. What's the problem? Christians, Muslims, Jews, Samaritans, living in peace. But you don't live riding on me. You don't live enslaving me. You don't live in this place silencing me, taking my water, taking my land, oppressing me, killing me, torturing me. And still claim you are the only democracy in the Middle East. And Netanyahu and the United Nations have the audacity to lie and lie and lie and lie about this. Enough is enough. I think the world is seeing what's happening in Palestine. I believe Palestinians have a responsibility to articulate the vision. But why always the victim has to articulate the right vision? Why the victim has to convince the oppressor of not being an oppressor? Stop. Where is the conscience? Wake up. and I'm glad there are a lot of Jews waking up, a lot of Israelis waking up. But let's work for a shared vision, a vision of justice, of peace.
But isn't it always, don't the victims have to make the explanation to the world? Isn't that part of the response?
Yeah, but you know, why is all the, from even the world, why
Yeah.
all the pressure on the victim?
Uh-huh.
When the oppression is so obvious?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Why the victim has to explain
Yeah.
his or her own victimization?
Yeah.
You go and ask a person who's being raped to explain the rape?
Uh-huh.
Of course, it's obvious. Somebody's being traumatized and raped. You told them to come over and over and over in international fora to explain how brutal, how painful rape is in order for somebody to take action to stop the rapist. Where are we? We're in the 21st century, 2011.
But
know?
there was a columnist named Larry Durfner in the Israeli press recently wrote that Palestinians have become the world's darlings. Do you think that is is he not reflecting a reality, which is that finally the Palestinian cause is, and even the Mahmoud Abbas and Netanyahu speeches were so dramatically different in character before the UN that we are seeing a dramatic shift in the world's understanding of the struggle?
No, we haven't become the world's darlings. I think the oppression has gone for too long. You know,
Uh-huh.
I used to say, there is a little bit sarcastic, the occupation and this is not funny anymore. You know, it's not funny anymore, as if ever it was funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the idea, I think a lot of people feel affinity to the Palestinian struggle because it embodies a lot of injustices in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a military occupation, it's an apartheid system. People, for example, women activists around the world, they see Palestinian women suffering. People who work for children, rights, they see children suffering. People who are a lot of people see affinity for many issues that is embodied in the Palestinian cause. Okay, and the idea is, I think the world has started to realize and has realized that this crime of Israeli military occupation and apartheid has to end, and it's gone for too long. Now, Israeli propaganda used to be very effective, but it became like a broken record. Over and over, the same myths, over and over again. Even about the narration of the narrative of the historical injustice, or how Israel was created, or what's happening here right now. About the issue of terrorism and Islamic radicalism. Over and over again, and you can, as they say, with the classical statement, you can fool some people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. You can't.
Right.
Netanyahu his speech was desperate. It was pathetic.
Yes. Yes.
It was an aim to fool all the people at that certain and it didn't happen, and it won't happen.
Okay, Syed, one last question. This is my first visit to Nablus, right? It's a very famous city.
Yeah.
It's an ancient city. It's a beautiful city. You're standing there, and there's a beautiful building behind you. There's that hill there. There's a
This
mountain
city is
there.
full of culture.
Tell me what I'm looking at right now. What am I seeing?
You are in one of the most ancient towns in Palestine. This town used to be a Canaanite city from 2500 BC. Okay, so it's a 5,000 years or more.
Yeah.
It's called Shechem.
Yes.
Okay, and now then the Romans came and they call the Greeks called Neapolis, the new city. Then the Romans came, and it has so much culture from the Canaanite to the Islamic Arab period. You can see here. This is like a beautiful museum. You have it's situated east-west in terms of geography.
Yeah.
This is the North Mountain. It's called Ibal Mountain, right here.
Yeah.
And on top of this mountain, this is Ibal Mountain.
Yeah, and this is the South Mountain we're on?
And the South Mountain here, it's called Jerzim. That's where the Samaritans are on top.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And I think you've been to the Old City.
Yeah.
And you saw the dense culture and the beautiful... This is a very kind... the people here are very hospitable, very loving. And but at the same time, Nablus has always been... It's called Mountain of Fire. the nickname, because it's always been with a proud spirit and has fought colonialists all throughout the history. So they call it the Mountain of Fire. So it's a mixture of goodness,
Yes.
pride, culture, but at the same time, this city does not kneel to oppressors.
Yes.
And then Israelis call it, they term it, this is the, what do you call it?
Hotbed.
Hotbed for terrorism.
Yeah.
We call it resistance. Okay?
What are the trees up there?
This
On the
is
north-
pine trees.
Okay.
Pine trees. And
So there's a park up there.
yeah, I'll take you up there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
we can